You want to hear a story about Martin Scorsese and me farting in front of him? Would you like to hear a story about me throwing up on 13 people throughout my life? Or would you rather hear a story about me losing my virginity? The virginity one, that's a great one. It's a great story. Okay, all right. So I was a late bloomer, and I lost my virginity when I was about 20. And that wasn't for the lack of having the opportunity, but I just didn't. So I broke up with a girl at a barbecue, and then met another girl at that barbecue. We left, we started driving around, we drove around till about 1 in the morning. I'm an asthmatic. I had terrible asthma most of my life, keep that in mind, that's part of the story. So we're driving around Oyster Bay, and eventually we get to Sagamore Hill, which is Teddy Roosevelt's house. I don't know if any of you have been here while we were in there. So we start walking around, and we start making out, and she's like, "Why did you bring me here?" And I'm like, "Oh, I guess." And we start falling to the floor, and she asked me if I had a condom, which I had one in the car. For some reason, I don't know why I had one in the car, but I had a condom waiting in the car. So I'm like, and if you know anything about the walk from Sagamore Hill to the parking lot, it's long, it's like a half a mile. So like, I start running, and then as I'm running, I get an asthma-induced asthma attack. As I'm running to the car, and I'm like, oh shit, like sort of fall to the ground. I'm like, okay, I gotta pull this one together. I have to pull this one together. So I get back up, and I'm breathing really, and I just push through it. And I get to the car, I take out my key, I unlock the door, I open the door, put the key on the seat, and I get the condom out of the glove compartment, I lock the door, and I close the door, and I lock the keys in the car. I lock the keys in the car. So then I'm like, okay, I have to forget that happened right now. I have to move on and go to the next step. So I'm still like losing my breath. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced an asthma attack, but it could be really bad. So I'm running uphill. They call it a hill because it's a really steep hill. So I'm running up it, and she's waiting up there naked, which is a great vision if I weren't gasping for breath. So I get to the top finally, and I fall to the ground, and she thinks I'm falling down and like on weed or something. And she goes on top of me, and she starts making out with me, and we start having sex, and I'm still having this asthma attack as we're having sex at Teddy Roosevelt's house. So here's we finished. It was really quick. Like I wish I could boast that it was like, it was the first time and whatever. She was really experienced. She gets off of me, and she's like, sees after like a minute, she's like, "You're breathing so heavily. Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I've been having an asthma attack for the last 10 minutes." I think I need you to like, get the people, like, because there's a house near there, and it's about 3 in the morning. So she goes to people to get an ambulance for me, and an ambulance comes to the parking lot of Sagamore Hill at 2 in the morning, and I tell her, "You take the car." I get in the ambulance, and I leave. And this is like 1998. I didn't have cell phones. Nobody had a cell phone. So I left. I go to the ambulance. I'm overnight. It's like a simple thing, you go through. It wasn't so terrible. But it was terrible for her because she had to sleep over the house of those people that night. And she just, she never spoke to me again after that. So my first lovemaking was that. There's more to this story because 10 years later, I tell another girlfriend about this, and she's like, "Let's make that happen." And I'm like, I don't really know if I want to do that again. But she was like adamant about it. So I do it. I do it for her sake, which sounds weird, but it's the truth. So we do it. I think she just wanted to compare it. She was like, "Oh, you have this great story. I want that great story too." I think that's what it was. So we do it, but it was in a different place on the top of the hill, and then there's 3 cars going by as we're having sex. And this is like 10 years later. Wait, there's more. 5 years later, I'm living in LA, and there's an audition for an Oprah Winfrey game show called Are You Normal America? And I audition with this story, and I get on the show. And it's a very convoluted show that has so many different aspects, I can't get into it, but essentially, it came down to me and one other guy, and I lost to a guy who had sex with a 20-year-old at his 80-year-old wife's funeral.
Oh, God.
So that was the culmination. That Oprah Winfrey saw a story about me fucking on Teddy Roosevelt's lawn. That's pretty incredible.